fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again. Got my main man, Uncle Shane Wilson from Fishing Future. I don't know if you can get your shirt close to the screen so everyone can see that thing.
Let me see if I can.
Uncle Shane. So I've had the pleasure of really getting to meet Shane over the phone and some calls like this. He's a fellow insider. Find out he's doing some really, really big things. And I thought it was in Texas to find out it's all over the place. And we just had one of our other insider members, Michael and Tanya. They're now doing their own chapter of Fishing's Future. And I am so stoked we helped sponsor it. And I'm going to throw out a pretty big promise or more. It's really more of a challenge at the end of this interview. So definitely stick around to the end. But Shane, man, welcome to the show. I'm pumped to have you on here.
I'm pumped to be here. You know, I'm a big believer and big supporter of what you guys do. Education is the key to increasing your net ratio. Yep. And I think you guys hit it. You know, I mean, you guys are spot on. I take this stuff and I go out and use it and I catch more fish. And it's like, people are like, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, Insider Club, Salt Strong, baby. Go.
I love it. Well,
thanks.
A lot of people probably know what our Insider Club, and that's obviously, you know, an online club. You've done something a little bit unique and different as you're doing hands-on. And it's not just about, you know, putting a kid on a fish. I mean, you have a pretty bold mission statement, which is what attracted me to what you guys are doing. I mean, this is bigger than fishing. This is like uniting families at the core. This is going after the family unit. So talk about that. I mean, how did all this thing even come about?
Well, I'm an educator. I believe educators are born, not created. If they were created, then you wouldn't have so much burnout in the classroom. But I've been teaching folks my entire life. And through that, I understand the process. Over the years, I became the director of the Alternative Center for our local school district. And I ran that for 12 years. And, you know, I was sitting in there and these kids are getting kicked out of school. Back in my day, when you got kicked out of school, it was for a 3-day vacation. You always tried to get in trouble during deer season, opening rabbit season, squirrel season, and fishing season. So you get 3 days to fish, but that's not the case anymore. They would send them to Shane Wilson at the Alternative Center. And they're good kids. They're just really bad decision makers. And I got to thinking, why are these kids, you know, one-on-one are great. You put 2 or 3 of them together, man, their decision making just plummets. So it's like, what are they doing? What are they missing? And they were missing active parental engagement. You know, a lot of parents now are separated, or they're so involved in double careers that they don't have the time to spend with kids to take them out to get them involved in things. Well, you know, my dad was a principal, mom was a nurse. So principals obviously have the weekends off, and nurses have every other weekends off. So we did a lot of hunting and fishing and camping, et cetera. And I thought, you know, it was good for Shane Wilson. Why don't I start a program that does nothing but teach parents how to re-engage with their kids? Mm. You know, maybe your kids are soccer players or baseball players, but you know, you're sitting in the bleachers screaming, kick the ball or hit the ball or run. That's not engagement. And it's not really quality time. When you teach a family how to fish, and we know this because we started this in 2007, been doing it for 14 years now. When you teach a family how to fish together, they actually fish together. It's amazing because you teach them the skill. So I thought, okay, we're going to bring these families and strengthen the bonds. And that's our full fundamental focus of everything. I said, I've got to keep these kids engaged with their parents. I got to keep the families together forever. So I took those 2 words, families forever. And I thought, okay, what are we going to do? I need a logo. So I took the first 2 F's. If I can share my screen, could I share my screen real quick?
Absolutely. You should have the ability to hit share screen. Do you see
Got it right there.
Look at that. Oh, you're just a tech whiz. Look at this.
Well, I've got 96 Zoom class I'll be doing before May the 21st. So anyway, if you look at our logo right here, not the words, but just the logo. I took the 2 F's from Families Forever. And every decision that we have made since 2007 has been on keeping the family together. So I took the 2 F's. And Joe, if I were to meet you and, and we're very close friends, or I would see your wife someplace, I'd probably walk up and give her a hug. I'm an embracer. We embrace people and we're huggers. So I took the 2 F's from Families Forever and I turned them around embracing each other. So our fish is made of the 2 F's from the foundation of Families Forever. And I thought, wow, that's beautiful. It's a simple logo. It's easy to understand. That will be the basis of every decision we make. And I thought, now what are we going to call the organization? I'm an educator again. When I retired in January of 2 years ago. I was teaching first grade, for heaven's sakes. First grade. It was chaotic, but I loved it. So I thought, we'll do nothing but education. We won't run tournaments. We won't run derbies. We're just going to do angling education. And all my life, I've heard my parents say, education is your future, Shane. Get a good education. It's going to give you a bright future. If I do nothing but angling education, I really am fishing's future.
Love it.
And because we're not just trying to reconnect, to start new anglers and reconnect people to nature, it's more than a sport. Your theme song, Joe, it fits right in here. It's more than a sport. Fishing is not just going out and catching. You go out and you appreciate nature. So our mission is family. It's education. We believe in environmental stewardship. Fishermen are some of the dirtiest people I know in our environment because we buy that new bait, we put it in our tackle box, we take it out there, we want to try it. We open it up in the boat or on the bank. We lay it down. The paper blows out of the tackle box. It blows onto the bank. We catch fish. We walk down the stream a little farther, leaving our trash there. You can find bags. You can find styrofoam from worm containers, etc. So we need to teach the environmental stewardship component. So I always say fish hard and fish responsibly. And the last thing is recreation. This is where parents, grandparents, kids, aunts and uncles with their nieces and nephews can sit on the bank and they can simply sit there by themselves and talk about, wow, look at that cloud. I see a whale in that cloud. You see that whale? Oh yeah, I see it. And then you look back down, you're like, hey, where's my bobber? Where's my bobber? So you're spending time with each other. So I'm going to stop to share, but then I'm going to get back with it in just a second. So that's what fishing's future is, and that's what we are. Every decision we make, I go back to that logo. I'm here to join families together. The family unit is deteriorating. Divorce rates are about 50%. Parents are working. People call me Uncle Shane because I'm willing to take my time. The most important thing we can give somebody anyway is our time.
Yep.
It's not our money, it's our time. So I'm willing to take somebody, give them my time, teach them the skills to fish. I don't believe in giving somebody a fishing rod. Really don't. Now, I've given thousands away, but I don't believe in it. I believe in teaching you how to use that fishing rod, teaching you how to catch fish, where to go, what fish you're looking for, but teaching you the knots, the casting stroke, what you need to take with you. Then I believe in giving you a bait that works. All right? I believe in giving you a bait.
Oh, Slam Shady.
You guys capitalized on it, Give them a bait that works. I'm not going to give you a fishing rod. I'm going to give you a bait that works. But I'm going to teach you how to use that fishing rod. Then you're going to go out and you're going to mow your yard, or you're going to go something, save your money, and you're going to buy your own fishing rod, which means you're going to take care of it because you now know how to take care of it. And you're going to use that bait that works, and you're going to catch fish, and there it starts. And then I'm going to say, hey, guys, go to Salt Strong to up your game because now you've got the basics. Continue your education. So it's a very, golly, I got the greatest job in the world, Joe. I'm in the office like you most of the time, but I give the gift of fishing. I give the gift of fishing to families, not to individuals. There's a lot of kid programs out there. Great programs, by the way.
Yeah.
But ours focuses on the family. And it goes back to our logo. If a kid learns to fish or, goes and sits in a little tub and he tries to catch fish and he catches a fish and he comes home and he's pulling on mommy's apron. He goes, Mommy, I want to go fishing. I learned to fish. a mommy and daddy who don't know anything about it, chances are that little boy or girl is not going to get to go. But if you can take the parents, and we have a curriculum that has 5 different components to it. We call them skill stations. And it takes about 20 minutes per skill station. They rotate through the skill stations. Then we stop. We bring them back. We eat together. We have hot dogs, chips, and water. I don't believe in giving kids a bunch of sugary fruit juices or pop, because they're wound up anyway. They're all inside all the time. So then we take them fishing, and we hand the fishing rod back to the parents, because the parents need to get engaged. They need to be in charge. So you give the parent the fishing rod. And Joe, this is funny because I learned this through years of experience. I used to give it when I first started out in 2007. I'd give it to the kid. The kid was excited, So he came 2.5 hours earlier thinking, I'm going fishing. And for the first 2 hours, he learned his knots. He learned of this, the rules, regulations, etc. So, he's dying to go fishing. Yeah. You give him a fishing rod, and he runs out down the pier, runs, down towards the water. He's not carrying his rod like he needs to. The tip of the rod goes into the dirt. It snaps, and he brings it back and says, my rod's broken. It's like, so no, I'm giving it to the parent. But it really brings the parent back in charge. So they go down, they bait up their own rod and reel. They throw it out there. The little boy or girl catches his first fish. He is just ecstatic. He's jumping up with enthusiasm. The real trick here is that mom and dad are standing right behind him, and they've learned the same skills. They've had to actively participate in every skill station. They've learned how to cast. They've learned those, and they're standing right behind their son or daughter, and they see the glee in that little boy, and they're standing behind him beaming with parental pride. And they're like, we can do that. We can do this. And it's very fulfilling. It's very warm. It's the right thing to do, Joe. It's the right thing to do, to give them your time, to give them an opportunity to experience something that maybe they wouldn't have experienced normally. And it's a lifelong skill. They can do it. They can do it with their great grandparents, or they can do it with their great grandchildren.
Yeah.
So that's
I love it.
The future is.
And so you started this approximately 14 years ago. You did an event. Now you're kind of like us. You've built the platform, if you will, because how many chapters do you have now across the country? We
have 64, 65 from Redding, California to Great Britain right now.
Wow. And
enough. Let me tell you, we don't have enough.
And so they're following your curriculum.
Yes.
You called them the skill stations. So if I went to one in Oklahoma, it's going to look the same as one in Florida that Michael's doing.
Pretty much. It's going to look the same. Now, Michael's going to use different baits. When we do it, we're doing an ice fishing one in Colorado around the Fort Collins area. I don't have little bitty sticks. My fishing rods are a little longer, but for the ice, they're going to have their ice fishing sticks. They're going to have their tip ups. They're going to have, so yeah, the curriculum is pretty basic, but it's the thing that makes it so replicable is it can be tailored to any geographical location in anywhere in the world.
And so talk me through what happens. Let's just say you have a family and they have a 9-year-old son, daughter, whatever it is. What happens, and how are they finding you? How do they get to go to these events?
Okay, well, first of all, 9 years old is a great age. In between 6 and 11 is a great time to get them in. We know the research. You know the research as well. You get them started in there. But so let's say, and we don't advertise, Joe. We don't have any real funding component ever built in. When I started this, I was an administrator, and I just wanted to save the family unit. So unfortunately for us, I did not build in a fundraising component. So we live off mom and pop donations. We have been going after and getting a few grants. But so we don't advertise because we don't have an advertising budget. Boy, I wish we did. We would go crazy. So they somehow catch wind of it. They do a Google search on family fishing or educational fishing or something, and maybe they come across Fishing's Future. So then they start going in and looking at it. Well, you have to register online for these events. They would register through our events class, and they're all listed right now. So then they would come, we would send them all details, information, etc. through an email. Then they come out here and they get there, they sign up. They've already signed up. They bring their little event Eventbrite ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't charge for it. It's all free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really an incredible thing. So they come and we gather all the families together. And let's say we've got our entire chapter. We're doing a full, what we call a family fish camp. That's, did you ever trademark like diamonds?
I did not.
Okay, well, we should trademark Family Fish Camp because that is our signature event. We do a lot of outreach, but our signature event is a Family Fish Camp. And so, you got your multiple stations. So we bring them all together and we welcome them and we give them the layout, the restrooms over here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do these skill stations and we're going to eat. Then we're going to do an active litter cleanup. I think it's so vitally important that we teach environmental stewardship. So we actually have them, each family gets a bag and we give them their gloves, and for 12 minutes, we only do it for 12 minutes. As fast as we can, I say, go out and pick up as much trash as you can. And I instantly go out and start picking up with them. I think it's imperative that we lead by example.
Yep.
So I'm picking up trash and I'm picking up something, I'll put it in that bag and I'll see something run over and pick up and put it in somebody else's bag. But that's the only tournament that we run. It's called our Trashy Tournament. And, when the families come back, we bring them up and we weigh the trash and say, okay, the Gonzalez family has 18 pounds and 7 ounces of trash, and a big round of applause. And I do that, Joe, it's funny, but I do that and keep record of that because maybe I was hoping with somebody in the environmental thing. A lot of people do trash pickups, but they do them once a year. We do them all over the country and every family fish camp. And I was just hoping that somebody'd say, hey, these guys are out doing something. Let's help fund them and support them. So it hadn't happened yet. There was in 18, we picked up 27,000 pounds of trash.
Wow.
27,000 pounds. That removes it from our banks and the streams and the beaches, et cetera.
And it's all just 12 minutes.
Yeah, 12 minutes.
Yep.
It's our Trashy Tournament. We'd give them a bait or a hat or something, or just the recognition and the applause. Then we go fishing, and they take these skills that they've spent the last 2.5 hours of learning, and they take these skills and they go down, they catch fish. And I'm telling you, Joe, they become extremely excited. The thing that's so different about our program is the parents must be involved. It's a family thing. Again, I'm keeping families together. That's what I do. It's all I'm really concerned about. But the caveat is that I'm giving them an opportunity to do this fishing for the rest of their life. So the kid finally catches a fish. He's screaming. He's dancing with joy. The parents are standing right behind him. They've learned all the skills. And they're like, they're beaming with parental pride. Look at this. My Mija can do this. We can do this together. We're going to try to do this next week. So if the fish are biting, Joe, we fish for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. If the fish aren't biting, we stop at about 30 minutes because I want the kids to still want to anticipate fishing. You don't want them to reach that point and say, there's nothing here. I hate fishing. We want them to still anticipate. So we bring them all back in. We bring them all back together. And then we say, okay. Now, I forgot to say in the beginning, after we've introduced them with the flow, then we divide them up into, if we have 5 skill stations, we divide them up into 5 groups. You have 30 families, you've got 6 families going to each skill station. We rotate through it. So you're learning multiple stations, you're running multiple stations simultaneously. So then we bring them back together. And before, I've got lots of trinkets. When you do 150,000 people a year, which is what we have done up until this COVID last year, that we average about 142,000 people that we engage with every year.
Wow.
When you do that, companies do not give you product. Everybody thinks, well, you get all this free product. There's nothing that Fishing's Future gets that's free. Salt Strong made a wonderful donation, both financially and through product, to Fishing's Future, Joe, and I want to recognize you publicly for that. We greatly appreciate your help. I believe in what you're doing. I am creating your members. And I really appreciate you stepping up and doing that. But companies don't give us stuff. We have to buy it. But because of the likes that we have on our Facebook page, and I'm going to ask your audience to please like the Fishing's Future Facebook page, because the people that sponsor us or that want to look at us go to there. And if we have a lot of likes and a lot of follows, then they will present us with a platform of pricing that we can afford.
Yep.
So then we buy the product, and before we give it out at these family fish camps, I tell the kids, and it's in the curriculum, it's on page 36. I say, boys and girls, I want you to go to your mom and dads right now who've taken their time to bring you here. I want you to give them a hug, and I want you to tell them I love you.
Mm.
And then I say, if I can't hear you, you're not getting any of these toys here. You're not getting this. I mean, I got them. I
love it.
So, and I say, you need to go, because that's what makes us different. And I've had mothers who have cried because she's, my 13-year-old son hadn't told me he loved me in public in many years.
Wow.
The testimonies that I get, I mean, it is literally staggering. And there are times when I've had to pull over because I've done an event and I'm driving home, and I've had to pull over because tears are in my eyes, because a dad is saying, you're causing me to change my priorities. What I saw today in my son's eyes caused me to change my priorities. And it's like, I've been blessed. This is the greatest job in the world to do what I do, because I give families something that they can do together for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I love it.
After we do that, we give them a certificate. We applaud them. You get a certificate, everybody applauds, and the next family gets it, everybody applauds. It's recognition. Then we say, okay, guys, go fishing next weekend and hope to see you out on the water. It's a real blessing, man.
That's so cool.
And it's so nice for you to give me the opportunity to share that story, because I don't do it very often.
And I didn't know a lot of this. This is it. I am so glad I had you on. I'm so glad that we have done a little sponsorship, and I'm excited to do a whole lot more, because that is the future, right? And that's something that Luke and I talk about is, how do we get more kids out there? It's sometimes easy to reach them online, but if they're online, that means they ain't outside fishing. And I got a question too, because I know growing up, we started off, from little docks on a lake and from the bank. I assume most of this, it starts off, it's kind of like the gateway into getting into saltwater and some bigger fish. You're just going after little panfish, or is it always off of bank? Do you guys ever go out in boats? How does it look in terms of the actual fishing experience?
Great question. Yeah, there's a lot that plays into that. We do all bank fishing or pier fishing or private lake pond fishing, or it's all ponds and lakes on the banks and on fishing piers. There are times when we can't fish and we're practicing our casting in a parking lot of an elementary school someplace. Yeah. And the reason we don't put them on boats, Joe, is for the one reason, our society is litigation happy. And our insurance, when you put families on boats, or inexperienced anglers on boats, your insurance rates skyrocket.
I can understand.
Because we are all basic, and a lot of people, they're still afraid of the water. We do talk about water safety. We do teach them how to properly wear their flotation vests, or their PFDs. So we cover all of that, but it's not, that's a little bit more advanced. That's not basic. You learn from a dock. I learned my granddad built a pond when my brother, who's 1 year older, was born, so that he could teach his grandkids how to fish. So I learned fishing from the banks of my granddad's pond every Sunday. I would run home from church, and there's granddaddy down there waiting on me. So yeah, we don't put them on boats. We do have a lot of chapters that a lot of guides have opened chapters. We find that more people that open the chapters, it's really interesting. There are teachers, retired teachers, servicemen and women, or firemen. Those people just have an innate ability and interest to give back to society because of the profession they've chosen. They also have time on their hands. So, they've opened a Fishing Future chapter, like Mike and Tanya Schultz. Those guys fish every weekend, but they won't put anybody in a boat. First of all, because of they're not captains and they don't have that kind of insurance.
Yep.
So when people do put folks in boats, they do it under their own captain's insurance or something, and it's not a part of the Fishing's Future name because we can't cover that with insurance.
Yep, I understand. So let's talk about these chapters. How does one get one? What does it look like? What are the expectations?
Well, There's a lot of expectation. Again, we don't advertise, because if we advertise, everybody's going to come through. The people that come to us are dedicated individuals such as Mike and Tanya. They're in St. Lucie, Florida.
Yep.
And they came to us. I think they came to us because you suggested that they come and look at us. So they're individuals that have a desire and believe that families are one of the most important things that we have, and that the family structure is missing in our society and we need to bring it back. They have that belief. They also have a passion about teaching the future and of fishing. So you take those three things and they come to ask, well, first of all, they have to have a record or a proven record of doing volunteer work. I don't care if it's with a social organization such as the Kiwanis or the Lions or the Elks or whatever, a civic organization. If they're volunteering somewhere, they need to have that. And if they volunteer, they're going to become known as a volunteer within the community. Yep. So they have to have that. Then they need to find themselves or somebody else to sponsor their chapter. Years ago, we're working on a small grant that we were able to give them equipment and to do stuff. And we want everybody to use the same equipment, because if you go to Oklahoma or Minnesota or to Mike and Tanya's, you're going to be using the same equipment because it's beginning and it's proven. I know how many reels are going to break over the course of a year if they do so many events, etc. So they have to agree that family comes first. It's not a kid event. We're not going to sell anything. We do everything that we do for free. We do charge. Let me ask that, because once somebody comes out and opens a chapter, they get the community to help sponsor it. They get the sponsorship funding to get the chapter. Other people maybe want to adopt them and come in like you did with Mike and Tanya. So they raise some funding and we get them a chapter. If they do what they agree to do, which is 3 events a year for 2 consecutive years, that's it. You got 365 days. You got to run 3 free events a year in your community. And we like the family fish camp because that's where it really brings everything in. And then they do other angling outreach. If they do that for 2 consecutive years, the word's going to get out and people are going to call them and say, hey, my son's got a birthday party. Can you come over and do some of this stuff? Well, they can say, yes, we can, but we require a donation for that. And those donations go back into funding their chapter because we have to have insurance on them, et cetera. Yep. But to get back to your question, they have to find 2 or 3 other individuals that will be willing to work with them. They have to assign an agreement that they would be willing to do 3 events a year. We will get them the equipment, but the equipment belongs to Fishing's Future. So if something breaks, they're responsible to maintain it and take care of it. But if something breaks, that's on me. That's on us. But they need to let me know, hey, we had 2 reels that laid down last week. Not a problem. We'll get them to you. Boom, they show up at their front door. But that communication is there. They need to follow the curriculum. They need to hang the banners. If there's an adopting organization such as Salt Strong, which, by the way, Mike did get the banners.
Nice. Golly.
Yeah, I'm on
our
fire,
lovely post office.
Got the Salt Strong banners coming. So he's going to fly those out because you're an adopting sponsor. You didn't sponsor it, but you adopted his chapter. So, but they've got to find the sponsorship funding to get a chapter. If there's chapters already in their locale, then they can just adopt that chapter. And that gives them certain rights, to have their banner, et cetera. But then they have to agree to this. They have to write a bio and send me a picture because we put it up on our website that this chapter, they have to figure out a name of their chapter. We've got the Real Blessed chapter in southern Texas. We've got the Blackwater chapter in Alabama. I'm the South Padre Island chapter because I live in beautiful South Padre Island, Texas. So once they do all that, they've got to go through a background check. All of our master anglers have had background checks because you're working with the public. Yep. And once they agree to it, it's not a contract, it's an agreement. They're volunteers. We understand that life steps in and periodically life's going to step in. You're not going to be able to do anything for a year or 2 or for, and so you need to let us know. We work with you because it's a volunteer organization. And every 2 years we re-up. So, some people we've had, golly, I don't know, I've been doing it since 2007. I've had people own chapters since 2007, still very active.
Wow.
I've had others that came in 2013, did it a couple of years, went through a divorce, maybe, had a family illness that they had to move. Some took their chapters with them, some gave them up, and we relocated them. So that's how they would start a chapter, though. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I'll just throw it out here. We did help out with Mike and Tanya there, and we would absolutely love to help. I don't know if that word, it sounds like it might not be sponsored, but adopt, whatever it is, to help it with, give money, banners, whatever we can to anyone who wants to step up and do it. We believe in it. And I think it's probably one of the most important things for families. I've seen when it's done with our family.
Yeah.
And I love the fact, I think this, our youngest brother, Daniel, is in a wheelchair. He was born with very severe cerebral palsy, and that was still something he could do. It's not like some sports where, you have to be completely physically fit and obviously it can't hurt, but man, with fishing, anybody can do it. Right. From 3-year-olds to kids like not kid, he's 35 now, but my brother in a wheelchair to 92-year-olds. And it's so funny, Shane, and I know you've seen this, when you're out on the water, and the irony is it's usually when the fish aren't biting that all of a sudden these amazing conversations come up, things that you might not even share this with anyone else. And all of a sudden you're just connecting and you're sympathizing, you're loving on people. And just like there's bonds, being formed when you're out on the water, whether it's a bank or a shoreline or a pier out in the middle of the ocean. There's something special about it. And some of my best memories and even just friendships have started from a fishing trip like that. And so I love that. And there are some great kids fishing clinics, whatever you want to call them. I think we need more of those as well. But there's something special about bringing those parents in. I mean, you're empowering these parents, right? Because we hear that from people is their kid does, maybe their next door neighbor invites the kid out fishing. The kid comes back all jazzed. And he's like, Mom, Dad, or Mom and Dad, I'm ready. And the parents are overwhelmed. They have no idea where to start, and then nothing happens. So I love it, man. We're anyone who's down. Obviously, we can only do it to a certain amount. But we would love to help sponsor or whatever we can do financially and or equipment wise. We would love to help get as many of these chapters going as possible, wherever it might be. Florida, Texas, Virginia. I know you guys are big in Texas because that's where it started in Oklahoma. It coming in Alabama now, but you need more on the East Coast, right?
Oh, well, the East Coast. There's two things that you hit on that I really, but yes, first of all, thank you. That's very, very generous of you. Salt Strong and Fishing Future is a natural marriage. I mean, yeah. I get them started. I turn them over to you guys. You guys take them. I mean, I learned stuff from you guys, and I've been fishing 60 years, literally. Well, 59 years. I'm 60. So, but the East Coast is wide open. We've got one in Hackenstown, New Jersey. We've got one in Pennsylvania, Allentown, Pennsylvania. But yeah, the East Coast is pretty much open. Now, one thing, I'm going to go back to my screen share real quick because you touched on something.
Yeah, I've got your page up here on my other screen. So your mission, I mean, it is amazing how it does tie in so much with ours. So it's reconnect youth to family and strengthen family relationships, reconnect families to nature, and teach environmental stewardship, increase participation in recreational angling.
So, and it's way more than a sport. That's, I think, one decision that literally saved my life is I was in a boat with my father's my sophomore year in my college, and I was engaged in some stuff that I shouldn't have been engaged in. I'm going to leave it at that. But I was we were out fishing in a boat, and we were on the Manistee River in Michigan, northern Michigan, not the upper, but the lower. And I told Dad, I said, Dad, I need to transfer. And he said, why? And I said, I just need to transfer. So that decision, led Shane Wilson down a whole different path. But on July the 28th, 2018, That's July the 20th. That date it's like my marriage date, which is May the 22nd, 1994. You know, you never want to forget those dates, but on July the 28th, 2018, a little boy by the name of Silas Fix stood in front of me. And this was in Indianapolis, Indiana, at Fort Benjamin Harrison State Park. And I grabbed, he was 11 years old, and I grabbed him up by the face like this, like you would 11-year-old boy. And I looked at him, I said, Silas, I've been waiting 11 years for you. And he didn't understand that. Well, he was our 1 millionth participant. We had 7 events going on across the nation, and I was in Indianapolis at that time, and I said, okay, we're going to do this in Indianapolis. The 17th person that signs up for this family fish camp will be our 1,000,000th person. Whether he was 1,000,001 or whether he was 999,993, I don't know, but he was the guy, that 17th position, and it just happened to be Silas Fix. And I said, I've waited 11 years for you. And that rocked my boat, because I did not start out this organization to say, hey, I'm going to do 1 million people, or, you know, I started this organization out to bring families together. And at that moment, I realized that I have created an organization that has taught some level of education to 1 million individuals. And it rocked my boat. I mean, it staggered me. And I was laying in bed that night, and I'm thinking, wow, what an accomplishment, you know. And I don't gloat or pat myself on the back, because it's not about Shane Wilson. It's about the families that we do. And I thought, okay, what do I, you know, Lord, and I'm a religious individual. I everything that I've accomplished is not because of Shane Wilson. It's because of the gifts and the talents that Shane Wilson has been given. And I understand that. So I'm praying about it. And where do we go? What do we need to do? Well, 3 or 4 weeks before that, I had 2 events opened on in the books, and this was for special needs folks only. We filled 180 slots in under 3 hours. 180 slots in under 3 hours registered for these 2 events. And they drove as far down as San Antonio, which is 6 hours north of us. They came over from Laredo, which I don't know, is a long ways west of us. Texas is a big state. But they came there. And I thought, okay, and the Lord said, okay, I want you to work with the special needs families with disabilities, and I want you to work with the military families with disabilities. You know, you've got Wounded Warriors, you've got Heroes on the Water, you've got all of these programs that are for the vets, but they don't focus on the family. I'm a family organization. I mean, I'm Fishing's Future. My logo is Families Forever. So if I come back with PSTD, and I've got 3 children and a husband or a wife at home, my PSTD is going to affect everybody in the family.
Oh, yeah.
So our next 5-year focus is on this logo. We've created this logo specifically, proudly supporting our military families. And it's you know, the special needs population and our military families with special needs are an underserved organization that we need to work with. So we are focusing on specifically like that. Yesterday, like I said, I missed your new opening up for the Insiders Club, and I missed it because I was working with the young lady who's 27 years old, who's a special needs individual. She's a Winter Texan. Her mother brings her down here from Illinois, and I'd been working with her on her casting, and I wanted to take her to a fishing pier. So I'm sorry I missed it. I really wanted to be there. I love talking with you guys, but she takes precedence. It was just her and I and her mother, and she caught an immense number of fish. I made a little post on our Facebook page yesterday about it with her picture. It lights up my heart. It's what we do. It's what I do. So yeah, please. If your audience believes in what we're doing and wants to become a part of the Fishing's Future family, and it's a family. It's just like the Salt Strong family. Yep. You know, it's the Salt Strong Nation, but you guys are family. I mean, you know, you talk, you communicate very well. Same here. It's all about family. So I'm going to give them my all to make sure that they're successful. And if they want to join, you're saying that you would adopt or help sponsor chapters. The East Coast is naked. We have We have hardly no presence at all. We have one in Florida. We're getting ready to have another one on the west side. But well, I tell you, we'd love to open them up, but we've got to have that partnership. And bait and tackle stores, it's a great way for them to bring business to their bait and tackle because we're co-branding with them. They can adopt it, and they're, everything that we do within that chapter talks about that bait and tackle. And if you adopt it, then the bait and tackle can say, hey, would you do something in our store? Come in and teach us. So your offer is very generous. No,
I'm hoping we get to do a lot of them. I know even with Michael, he had sent me that email and I had mentioned you, and I hope I'm not saying too much, but I think in the beginning, he's like, I just don't know if this is for me. And then all of a sudden, I think it was maybe a week later, he's like, man, I can't get this out of my head. He's like, I feel like God has just been nudging me to do this. And my wife and I, we're going to do it. We're going to go all in. And I love stories like that. So that would be my challenge. If you even feel remotely like this is something you're called to do, you want to leave this world a better place, unite families. It takes a little bit of work. Sure. Anything great does. I would encourage you to do it. And it's Fishings with an S, future.org, right? Is the site?
That's
fishingsfuture.org. And go check out their mission. They've got an amazing site with some pretty hard-hitting videos as well. You get to see some of the families in action sitting there on the banks and some little piers and docks. It's so cool. I'd love to hear, do you have any other, I know you have plenty of stories just from talking to you. Any other stories that just like, and it could be anywhere in the last 14 years that come to mind, just stuff that you absolutely love and has meant a lot to you and the overall organization and the overall mission?
I guess I'd have to go with this right here. That's George Bush 41.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what we have done. I mean, there's all kinds of accolades back here that I have, but I've been in it a long time. But when I was invited, there was a grant that's called the Vamos a Pescar, and it's the George H.W. Bush Vamos a Pescar Educational Fund. It's put on by RBFF and Take Me Fishing. Johnny Morris initially was the guy who put up the seed money to get this started. And we were asked, because of what we're doing and the tremendous impact that we were having on the Hispanic population, the state of Texas asked us if we would be interested in applying for the grant. We applied and we got it. The next year we applied and we got 5 out of 12 in 2 different states. So because of that, I was asked to come fish with George H.W. Bush in College Station at his library. And what an honor. Somebody said, take that off your bucket list. Well, let me tell you, you don't put fishing with the past president on a bucket list. That's not a bucket list item. You just don't do that. So they gave me 10 minutes with him. There was nobody could get within 10 feet of us. In fact, this picture here is a Bill Dance, Johnny Morris, myself, and George H.W. Bush, President 41, with the fish. He caught a fish. I'm right here teaching him how there's nobody there except me and the president.
That's so cool.
Johnny Morris is right here. But all these are security guys.
Yep.
That was a huge honor. We have just received another grant, the same Vamos a Pescar grant. We didn't do it for 3 years, and we got back into it. We just received that grant again. I did a TV interview 2 days ago to help promote that grant. We're doing it in the state of Texas, partnering with Take Me Fishing, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and the Kansas Wildlife Parks and Tourism. And because of all of this stuff that has happened, we're making a big impact within the Hispanic population. I was inducted into the Texas Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame this past year. The state of Texas chooses one individual a year, and golly, what an honor that was.
That's too cool.
They chose Shane Wilson, They didn't choose Shane Wilson because I'm who I am. They chose Shane Wilson because of the organization and the volunteerism, the people, like you said, anything that you do, if you're going to be successful, it does require sacrifice. I mean, how many times have you sat in that office and you've got a family right outside that door?
Mm-hmm.
There's a sacrifice there. So if you're going to become involved in it, you got to be willing to give up certain things. But those are some really big highlights that have happened to me. And it's It's very honoring. I'm very humbled by it. But it also drives me, with responsibility, and with success comes great sacrifice and great responsibility. We've got 64 chapters. Hopefully we're going to have a lot more. And I will bust my tail for anybody that I can to help them be successful, because they're giving their time. I never forget that.
Yeah.
They're giving their time, so they're worthy of me giving my time to them.
Cool. I love it, man. Well, speaking of that, thank you so much for your time on this. What a joy. I mean, what a pleasure. I love what you're doing. I think everyone listening to this feels the same way. It's like, why can't we have 1,000 Shane Wilsons doing 1,000 of these every single week across the country? I mean, it's tough to argue that the world wouldn't be a better place if more families were out there fishing and uniting and just having conversations, without TVs and phones and iPads and Nintendo games and all the other stuff that distracts us on a day-to-day basis. So I love it, man. I'm with you 100%. Everyone, please, even if you can't, for whatever reason, just life is too busy right now to do your own chapter, at least go sponsor, someone else who wants to do it. Obviously, you guys, are a nonprofit organization. I'm sure they would love any and all donations just to help get more kids out there, get more rods, more reels, more coaches, and more volunteers. So that's at fishingsfuture.org. Anything else, my friend?
I just, one of these days, let's get together and get to spend some time on the water.
Yes, sir.
I would really enjoy that. I can learn from you, and I probably can teach you some bad habits as well.
Well, we need to go back to Texas. I think I told you I lived there for just 5 years, and I loved it. I just sold my Texas edition Tahoe. Texas is a proud state. I think it's the only state that General Motors allows to put their actual state literally on the car. It's not like hidden in the back. It's right there in front,
right there,
near the front wheel well. And it's a big Texas. And so I just sold my Texas edition Tahoe that I bought there in Houston when I was living there. So good state and great fish. And that's a place you don't have to have a boat either. I mean, you can catch some monster trout just wading. I know it's probably one of the top places just to do some wade fishing on the flat. So.
All right, Joe, got to go. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Everyone, please make sure and you guys are on Facebook and Instagram and all the other social media places to go follow.
That's correct. We probably don't do media as well as y'all do, but we do it. We're looking for some other opportunities. Some folks want to join us within the organization. We are looking for some other opportunities there. I'm in the need of looking for an executive director. Cool. But hey, we're in good shape. Come join us. We'll see you on the water when we can. If I see the boat, I'm going to probably pull you over.
I hope you do. All right, guys, thank you so much. Make sure to go follow Fishing's Future. Reach out to them, and heck, you might even be working for them if anyone has some executive director experience. That's pretty exciting.
Fish hard and fish responsibly. Talk to you later.
Out. Peace.
We're out.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days ago. Find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing in her soul.